Hey everyone, I am the Chosen One Legend here, as always joined by my co-host.
Hi, I'm Kai, also known as Vascarine.
And welcome back to BunchaJokahs, where we are finally here for a main podcast after a 2-month break. It feels like it's been forever, right Kai?
Yeah, it's been a little bit of time. We've had plenty of videos out in the meantime, but it's good to get back to the normal stuff.
Yeah, we had our Game of the Year out at the beginning of January, so we just skipped over the news for December, but we're all here to cover all of that, the news from the past 2 months and what we've been playing in this month's podcast. So are you ready, Kai, to get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's crack on. So our first segment of the podcast is called Can't Have a Podcast Without News Baby, where we look back at the news of the past 2 months in this case, and December and January aren't known for being particularly full of news. But still, being 2 months, there's a lot to cover, so if we miss anything, we've had to be selective in what we cover. But the first thing we're going to start off with, we have to talk about, is that Sephiroth came to Smash Bros. Ultimate. And now, we recorded our live reaction to the announcement, which you can find here on our channel, but now, since then, we've got time to play as him. I think we actually played as him together, Kai, so how do you feel now that Sephiroth is out?
Yeah, well, it's been quite a while since that. It's crazy that he's been out for the time he has now. But yeah, I think it's a very good inclusion. Really fun to play. The gameplay is fun. Seems pretty balanced as well. Like not too overpowered, but strong enough that you'll enjoy it. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the least complex of the DLC characters. I mean, he does have the one wing mechanic, but that kind of just happens on its own. It's not like Joker where you have to charge it yourself. It just comes out when the moment is right. So he's more simple, but I mean, Sephiroth is one of the most iconic villains in gaming. You know, up there with like Bowser. Long before I knew anything about Final Fantasy or anything like that, I'd heard of Sephiroth. So the fact that he's in there, and he actually brought music with him this time, so we have Final Fantasy songs. That's pretty awesome, I think.
Yeah, it's been really good to hear Final Fantasy music in Smash finally. So, cause there's a lot of good themes where I've never really paid close attention to them until they were in the background during certain fights I was in. So, yeah, it's
definitely
been really good to see.
Yeah, it's it's kind of a shame we didn't get any remake music, although that's understandable. But they made up for that with some original remixes. So it's definitely, as you'll see later, it's got me more interested in Final Fantasy even. So definitely a good start off to December.
Is that foreshadowing?
Perhaps. Look, Kai. I studied literature in school. I know how to do dramatic tension and everything. So don't mean to brag. Right. But our next topic is, apart from that, we had the demo out for Bravely Default 2. And Kai, were you able to give that demo a try, or were you interested?
For Bravely Default, cannot
Yes.
say I tried it. No, I didn't. I've never really paid much mind to Bravely Default. I definitely should at some point, but so far I've not had a look at it. No.
Yeah, but I mean, it's free, so if you get some spare time, it's worth having a quick look at. It's definitely much better than the first demo. It's much more accessible. But even then, I went into this knowing full well, this is not a game I'm going to get. I'm not into that very traditional and brutally difficult type of JRPG, right? I was on casual mode and it kicked my ass. It destroyed me. I just about made it through the second boss, and it's a lengthy demo, about 5 hours. But what I will say is, I can see for those who this is their kind of game, they're going to love it. It's got a very interesting combat system, similar to sort of previous Bravely games and Octopath style. It's got really interesting pop-up book visual style, and the music. If you don't see anything else, Kai, just listen to some of the music, because it is damn good.
I definitely will do. Yeah,
absolutely.
I've heard lots of good things about it.
Yeah, it was an impressive demo. It's just one of those things where I'm like, happy for those who like it. I'm too weak. I'm going to stick to my Xenoblades.
Good stuff.
And there's the mention of this episode. Got to get it in there. But later on in the month, we had a direct, but a Nindie World direct. And to be honest with you, I don't remember most of it, but the big thing from that direct was Among Us coming to Switch, and I mean, how can you go wrong with more Among Us, right?
Yeah, it's still really big. It's really popular out there for everyone. So it just kind of made sense to bring it to the Switch. And it's interesting how I don't think they've brought it to Xbox or PlayStation at all yet. So the Switch being perhaps a bit closer in resemblance to things like mobile games, it makes sense that the Switch will get it first. So it's good to see.
That's true. I was kind of thinking it's almost un-Nintendo-like to snap up a upcoming game like this. You know, you kind of think this sort of thing would go to different consoles, but now that you say that, that does make perfect sense. The Switch being a mobile device, it is very fitting. And whilst I haven't got to play it myself, my sister's got it on her Switch. She got for Christmas, and it seems pretty decent. So for £3, you can't complain, can you?
Yeah, no, it's not like it's really unaffordable. So always
this is when they bring out
if you haven't tried it yet.
The high-end Among Us edition, with deluxe content, new funky mode.
This will be Among Us in 2020.
Whenever they eventually bring out that new map, you mean? Whenever.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be good.
Should be good. I haven't played in a while, but I've sort of been tempted by seeing a few more things on it, and that new map will definitely get me to get back into it. But aside from that, to cap off December, we had another direct, but again, not a normal direct. Nintendo don't like those these days. We got a Super Nintendo World direct, and it was one of those things where I was kind of like, okay, more information is good, but does this really need a direct? But then I was won over by how wholesome it was seeing Miyamoto tour the world he created. That was really wholesome fun.
Yeah, it's so nice to just see him walking around, and he was like, "Look at this cool thing! It looks normal, but it actually does a cool thing when you click it or whatever." And I was like, "Damn, he's really into this." So it was nice to see.
It was, yeah. And didn't he he said to the Mario and Luigi there, Dad's got to go work elsewhere or something.
Yeah.
It's he's got some charm to him, Miyamoto. But
I love the parts of it where everyone on Twitter afterwards was talking about how they're going to jump through the paintings. I'm half excited and half concerned about what's going to happen to those paintings when it finally opens.
It will be like a day tops before they have to add some sort of barrier there so you can't get close to them. I can assure it. But but I mean, obviously, it did announce the launch, but that's been delayed due to the pandemic. And we weren't going to be able to go there anyway, obviously.
Yeah.
But is this something that you eventually want to go to? Are you big on theme parks?
I'm not really big on theme parks in terms of like the rides and everything, but in terms of the atmosphere, like I'm all for it. So for this sort of thing, I feel like it'd be a really fun one to go to. Yeah,
this is definitely giving more vibes of Disneyland rather than the Fort Park. It's less thrill rides, more atmosphere. So whilst I do love the thrill rides myself, I can't deny the joys of walking through the Mushroom Kingdom. If they had Zelda, or a giant, I got it, Kai. They build a giant Mechonis and Bionis.
Oh,
if they do that,
please, I'll be having dreams about that. Please don't.
I will literally turn up in like a full hazmat suit right now if they do that. Believe it.
That is the dream.
One day, maybe, one day. But now we're on to January, and this is some news that I know you'll be interested in, Kai. In fact, you're the one who reminded it to me, because Nintendo officially acquired Next Level Games. I'll leave this one to you.
There's not too much to talk about with this, but Nintendo taking like full ownership at this point of Next Level Games is interesting. They've made series in the past, they're the ones who make, I believe it's Luigi's Mansion, that series, and the one I'm a big fan of, Mario Strikers. Who knows, maybe at this point with full ownership of it, Nintendo's finally going to go out there and make a new Mario Strikers game on the Switch, perhaps even a port would be fine. Please, Nintendo.
Would be nice, wouldn't it? I'd love to try out the series.
It's a really fun one.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, you kind of hear it and you initially think, wait, Nintendo didn't already own them? Because they are just synonymous with Nintendo nowadays. They have done other stuff in the past. I believe they made a like a Captain America game for the PS3 or something like that. But
They've made some strange old games. I
yeah.
believe they might. I think it was them who made like an old NFL game as well, and that sort of thing.
Oh man. So it's good to see that Nintendo are officially saying you're staying with us. No one else can take you. So
Yes.
hopefully this bodes well for the future, and maybe they'll work more closely and more properties, because the work they've done, even the visual fidelity on Luigi's Mansion 3 is insane. So definitely a studio to keep an eye out on. But moving on, we actually okay, it's this story. Katy Perry, that's just what I've got written down here. So
let's go quickly through this.
Knock it out. Sam wanted us to do this. All right, Sam, I'm not paying you Kit Kats because of this. I hope you realise that. This counteracts everything. But yeah, Katy Perry's doing some musical collab with Pokemon for the 25th anniversary. We don't know what it is. Kai and I don't care what it is, but Sam does. So there you go. Maybe it's like a remix of the Pokemon theme tune or something. Maybe it's something else.
The Acacia song that came out, what was it, last year in that Pokemon Direct? That's the peak of like Pokemon songs. I don't think you can top that sort of thing. So you can't even try Katy Perry. Sorry, but
she's going to, apparently. I mean, who knows? Who knows what can happen? Maybe we're going back to like the Wii marketing days where you had Jedward playing the DSs or whatever. So
oh, don't remind me.
But let's move on from that to brighter pastures, let's say. And Monster Hunter Rise had its own direct, but the big thing to come out of that was a demo, which we both played, not together, but we played it around the same time. And how did you find it?
I really like the concept of the game. The visuals look great, all of that sort of thing, and I feel like for Monster Hunter veterans and that sort of thing, it looks like the kind of thing that they're really going to enjoy, because there's a big variety of movesets and everything. There's the monster riding technique, which I believe is new. Overall, it just seems really solid. For me personally, not the same story.
Yep. I am the same boat as you. I played the demo. I have big respect for it. I could see it looked fun, and there was some good joys to going on the hunt with three friends, and all getting on your mounts together and riding off. There was some fun to that, but as soon as you start the combat, oh man, it's so sluggish. It's so slow, and I know that's the point, and I can see why people enjoy it. But I very quickly knew this is not for me. I thought maybe this one. I've tried demos before, and I thought maybe with the new grappling thing that they have, this one might be more quick and appeal to me, but no, it doesn't. It still feels slow, and kudos to people who enjoy it, not me.
Yeah, it was interesting. I feel like one of the biggest contrasts for me was doing single player to multiplayer. So the single player that I did on my own was a dreadful experience, because I felt like the enemies were quicker than me in every way, and had their moves had priority over mine with their attacks.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not fun. Like I'm just in a losing battle here. And then I went into online and I thought, well, actually, they're only targeting one person at a time now. There's clearly strength in numbers here, and kind of akin to how monster hunting would work in general. It makes sense that it's much more successful with more people. So I did actually quite enjoy the multiplayer aspect of it, and how you might be weaker than the enemy normally, but as a team you're not. That's not quite the case.
Yeah, this is definitely a game to play multiplayer.
Yeah, that was definitely a highlight for me. But in general, the gameplay was just a little bit too slow. I think I'm probably still riding the high that was Age of Calamity, to be honest. That's probably what's happened here.
Age of Calamity, this is not, for sure. It's... Yeah, I still had an overall decent time playing it. It's just one of those things. Honestly, even once I got to grips with the gameplay a bit better, I just found myself getting bored chasing the monster and then hitting him and he runs away and chasing him again. There's a gameplay loop to it, and it's just not one that appeals to me. But I do hope this does well, because it looks like there's been a lot put into it. And, I mean, with how well the Switch is doing, we weren't actually going to... I don't have this as a news story, but... the Switch financial stuff came in, and it's doing gangbusters, so this is going to do well, and I hope people enjoy it.
Yep.
And it's definitely better than a later demo I have to talk about, that's for sure. But we'll get to that in a little bit. We have we have one more news story first, which is we've got more information on Bowser's Fury, the additional content to Mario 3D World on Switch. We got a full trailer that showed off Mega Kaiju Bowser, Mega Cat Mario, this like sort of open world but with more linear sections, kind of like a mixture of Odyssey and 3D World's best bits. And I'm still not sure that I'm going to get this, at least at launch, but it did look impressive. I don't know, this did win me over. What about you, Guy?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the video they put out for it and the sort of the new information. I really like Bowser's design actually, because it does remind me of Mario Strikers again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was good. The sort of open worldness of Bowser's Fury seems good. I feel like it's, trying to just be Mario Odyssey, to be honest, though. I feel like this looks like something that should just be a Mario Odyssey DLC world, but they needed a reason to re-release 3D World on the Switch, so...
Yeah.
I think it's definitely a good addition, but I feel like they put it on the wrong game because of sales. I don't know.
Yeah, that's quite possible, yeah. I mean, you do wonder at this point, is there going to be Mario Odyssey 2? Is that a thing coming? You kind of think it would be, but they announced Breath of the Wild 2, really quickly, and we haven't heard anything about Mario, not even DLC. Zelda got DLC. But until then, this is still a cool addition, and it's definitely more than they've done for a lot of previous things, like the new Super Mario Bros. Deluxe added Toadette and the Peachette ability, which we're not even going to get into.
That did more harm than good.
That was a blight upon the gaming community, but this looks fun at least. And I think what will ultimately sell me is the online good, and are other people I know going to get it? Because if I can play this game online with friends and it run well, that will win me over probably. So it's all riding on that for me, I think.
That's fair. I think I probably won't end up getting it just because, having it already on the Wii U, although I might not have Bowser's Fury and I might not have online multiplayer, I still pretty much have like the other 90% of the game. So even though I would really like to play it online, I'm not willing to spend 50 odd quid to get the extra little bits,
Yeah,
but
that makes sense.
I think for people who haven't got 3D World on the Wii U, because of course the Wii U didn't sell great, for those who haven't played it, like absolutely they should buy it because it's really fun. So
yeah, you're getting a pretty good bargain if you've never played this game before. With the amount of content, it may be an older game, but it definitely holds up. And if you get to those bonus worlds, it gets difficult. So buckle up. I can't even imagine doing Champions Road 4-player online. That must be ridiculous. But
oh no,
I want to see someone do that. But in more down news, I suppose, we got a demo for Balan Wonderworld, which I mentioned before when it first came out on the podcast. I was interested in this. I'm not interested anymore. It's bad. It's just bad. I won't dwell on it too much. Everyone's been talking about it, but it's sluggish. It's all your moves, like jump is every button does jump, and if you get a new ability, every button has that ability. You can't jump. It looks bad, even when it's not on the Switch. It's poorly optimized for Switch, but even on the PS5 it doesn't look great. It's like they're going for this like charming, quirky aesthetic, but it just looks weird. Why are the animals dancing? Why do they disappear when you walk up to them? Why am I playing this game? I didn't play it for long. I dropped the demo. It's just bad. I guess you didn't try it, Kai.
No, I didn't try it. I heard from a lot of people that it just wasn't cracked up to what people thought it was going to be. I feel like it's one of those games that falls victim where it's like, it's trying very hard to be a mainstream game. I felt like I was getting strong vibes from it that it wanted to be a big thing, like, Hat in Time, Mario Odyssey, that sort of thing. But it just kind of didn't perform to that level,
Yeah. It's a shame because I know a lot of people were interested in this. It's one of the Sega guys who's like behind a lot of Sonic stuff that's working on it, and it gave people like very feelings of reminiscing like old Sega consoles, Dreamcast or the Saturn. It's one of those. It's meant to be reminiscent of. So people were excited for it, and it just it just doesn't fundamentally work. I don't think. If you're able to enjoy this, kudos to you, but I could not in the slightest. But there's more things I'm going to be playing and spending my time on, like watching paint dry. So we'll.
It might go quicker. Who knows?
Exactly. Yeah. But moving on to more cheery stuff. Festivale is coming in Animal Crossing. I don't know if you watched this little video, but we'd heard of it before, but now it's our next big event coming in February, and just good vibes, right? Just good, cheery stuff.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's too much to talk about with it, but it's there. No. It's good. Animal Crossing players keep getting updates, which is really good to see. That's how Animal Crossing works. So yeah, it seems positive.
Yeah, and the main benefit to this is I tend to just go on Animal Crossing for the big events. So this means I get to go on someone's island and draw just an awful meme on their notice board, which is what I love to do. So
not again.
I can't help myself, Kai. It's an addiction at this point. But also, actually, before we move on, I should mention they also teased Mario stuff coming in March. They teased this way back in September, but we are finally getting Mario items in Animal Crossing. Don't know what they are, but if they could continue this like we got back in New Leaf, where we had like the Master Sword and the Triforce, and move on to other series, that sounds like a good way to get people continuously playing, because they love their Nintendo merch.
Yeah, seems hype.
Yeah, and maybe one day, Kai, maybe you can get a Monado in Animal Crossing. So
please. It's already my flag.
yeah, that's right. That's how you get Kai back into Animal Crossing. That's the secret. But that is pretty much all the news we've got to cover over the past 2 months. There are some extra things that we've glossed over, but all the big stuff that we want to talk about. Which brings us onto our final segment of the podcast, Games Time, baby, where we talk about the games that we've been playing. And I've got 2 things, so I'm gonna start things off if you're okay with that, Kai.
Yeah, go for it.
And I've been dipping in and out of a few things over the past 2 months. I finished Age of Calamity, which you can hear our thoughts on in our spoiler discussion on this channel. There's some cross-promotional marketing going on there.
Good.
I've also still been playing Breath of the Wild, which is always fantastic, and some Smash and whatnot. But the main thing that I've been playing, I got for Christmas, is Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, and man, it is really great. It is a very charming game, and I have so much to say about it. I'm going to try and condense down. But if you're not sure about this game, just to remind you, we've seen it in a few Nintendo presentations. It's the game that's sort of set in this ancient mythological Japan setting, very reminiscent of like Okami, for example, where you play as a goddess who is a goddess of daughter to a harvest goddess and a warrior god, and you have to do this mixture of rice farming and going out and exploring in combat platforming sections. And this always interested me right from the start, but the main thing that sort of made me a little bit on the fence was, look, I'm not good at farming games. I don't play games like Stardew Valley, with good reason, because I suck and they lose my interest. But I wanted to give this one a shot because it looked really appealing. Some reviews, like Derek with Good Vibes Gaming, did a good run if you're on the fence, sort of veered me towards getting it, and I'm so glad I did, because it is a really, really charming game. There's so much joy to be had from it, and even if you're not into the whole farming sim game, it's made it very accessible. If I can do it, you can, because I suck. But it's one of the things that it's simple to get into, but if you want to go more in depth, there's ways you can adjust the water level and the different fertilizer you use to really decide what kind of harvest you get. But either way,
fertilizer levels for the fighting part, isn't it? Surely.
Yeah, you just got to throw dung at your enemies like a monkey. That's That's the
Monkey.
main strat. How did you know, Kai? I thought you hadn't played this game.
No, I just know that there's a lot of ruin and a lot of rice. That's about
you,
it.
you got that done right, Kai.
Man, I
But
love using the rice blade. Oh, it's so iconic.
well, I mean, you fight with farming equipment. That is your weapon
Oh
you
wait,
use,
really?
so you're not
Whole
entirely
attack.
far
Let's
off.
go.
And that's kind of the joy of this game, is how it links both sections. If this was just rice farming, I would have got bored of it. But it's the fact that you sort of, it's on this like not real time, but this time system as time progresses, and you choose how to allocate it between farming and going out and exploring and fighting. And these two, they complement each other perfectly, because one minute you're doing fast-paced action, taking on hordes of enemies, then you're just chilling, bashing loads of wheat with a stick to get rice or whatever. It balances each other perfectly between fast-paced and chill. And it has this great gameplay loop where your harvest actually is what increases your strength. As you get a better harvest, Sakuna's skills go up. She unlocks new abilities, her health and her strength will increase. And even though, be honest with you, your first harvest is going to suck, you do get better. And even if you don't go full in depth, you still continuously progress and see yourself. It's rewarding seeing your harvest progress and your skills go up. And it means that, if you're struggling on an area, it may take you a bit more time, but you'll get a new harvest, your skills go up, and you'll find it an easier time. So it really allows you to go at your own pace, and the combat itself is so much fun. It's very fast paced. There's some mild platforming, but it's mostly fighting these hordes of enemies, and you've got your light attack and your strong attack. You can whack enemies into each other. There's this great domino system where they just collide with each other and do massive damage, and it is very satisfying. I've got about a dozen clips I've taken, just like, yes, perish all of you enemies, do it. But
Jeez.
and look, Kai, no one messes with my rice, okay? That's serious business. My harvest is my harvest, mate.
Fair point. Fair point.
But this is all accentuated by what's called the Divine Raiment, which is a sort of accessory that Sakuna has, where you can grapple onto enemies and surfaces, and swing yourselves around them to avoid enemy attacks and stay on the move. But also you can grab onto enemies to attack. You can swing one enemy into another with it. You can flick them into the air and jump up to do a combo attack. It keeps it very fluid throughout, and there's a real good sense of mastery of the combat system. And it's just all wrapped up in this great package. It's very wholesome fun. There's a neat little story to it, where it's really about seeing the characters progress, and as Sakuna gets to warm to this bunch of humans she's stuck with. The visuals are great, and the music, honestly, Kai, if I played this when it came out last year, this might have won soundtrack for the year for me. It is that good.
Really?
It's
that good.
It is so good, and I'll be playing some. You'll be hearing some right now if you're watching it on YouTube. But it really accentuates the atmosphere and the music, and I'm gonna have to stop myself before I keep going on. But I love this game, and if you haven't played it, if you're on the fence, definitely give it a shot. It's only like 30 quid. It's a slightly cheaper game, and you'll definitely not regret it. So rice all the way, baby. What have you been playing then, Kai, before I keep rambling?
So I am going to talk about a game I've talked about quite a bit on the podcast before, to be fair, but it's something I've played once again, and it is Pikmin 3. I am the Pikmin man, that is what they call me.
Right.
So, yeah, I thought I'd go back through and replay Pikmin 3 last month, and I really enjoyed it again, just because, there was all the hype surrounding Deluxe still. I saw that lingering, and I was thinking, yeah, I can't help myself, I need to go back and replay it again. So I went back, I replayed the main story and got my best time on it for 100%. I managed to complete the game in 19 days. So 19 days is pretty good for my standard, because I'm not the best at the game, but I keep improving each time. And I also went through all the time attack modes and everything and got all my PBs on those. So it wasn't a really long experience, because Pikmin 3 is kind of a small game. It only took me a couple days, but it was really good to do. Like, I enjoy going through the game, and because it's sort of open-ended-ish, it allowed me to... it allowed me to work out new ways to work through each world. For example, in the tropical wilds, which is kind of the third area you go to, there's a bridge that is kind of important, like it's a very good shortcut. And because of the way I went around things, I didn't ever end up even making that bridge. I just used winged Pikmin all the time because they're so good.
Nice. Yeah,
So,
I can imagine
yeah, I
it's
really enjoy
almost it's almost not of like a sandbox, but it's very much a speedrunner's paradise. And depending on what Pikmin you take out, there's so many different ways you can go about doing the map. So if you're trying to go for that faster time, I can only imagine there are many ways you can go about it.
Yeah, there's a huge variety in like the order you want to collect fruit in and everything. So it's open-ended, not to like it's not an open world game by any stretch or anything like that, but it's open enough that there's a huge amount of combinations for ways you can complete it, and I'm pretty sure I find myself completing the game like different every single time.
Yeah, that's cool to hear. I definitely need to try out Pikmin 3 eventually, whether I pick up Deluxe or find a Wii U copy. But I mean, as you might have heard, which I didn't mention earlier, Pikmin 3 Deluxe sold nearly 2 million copies, which is the best a Pikmin game has done. So maybe
That's so good.
maybe
That's
this means maybe this means that Hey Pikmin 2 is finally coming to Switch.
You dare. Oh man. No, I will be so excited if they see that Pikmin 3 Deluxe has done really well and they release 4, because that's something I really want to see in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see this series keep on going, and Pikmin 4, it's been so long. Clearly there's an audience there, so hopefully sometime soon they'll give us what the fans have wanted. But I guess that brings me on to my final game I have to talk about, which I won't dwell too much on because I've only been playing this the past few days since I beat Sakuna. But that is going back in time. I've playing for the first time the original Final Fantasy VII, which is just straight up my first Final Fantasy game ever. And the real thing that made me want to start this was, as I talked about in our one of our Game Wars discussions, I really want to play Remake. It looks so good, and whenever I get a PS5, which will happen eventually, that's one of the first games I'm going to get for it. But I think part of the joy of that is seeing how things have been changed and translated from the original. So, and as the original was on sale over holidays, like £7, I thought, why not just pick this up? I may not be interested. It may be a bit archaic, it may be a bit outdated, but I'll slog my way through the combat system to experience the world, and that way the remake will be enhanced when I play it, and I'll be able to speculate about the future of the series with the other people and that. But what surprised me was actually I've really been enjoying it somehow, despite being this 20-plus-year-old game that a lot of people say it's clunky, and just look at Cloud with his screwdriver arms. It's not it hasn't held up remarkably visually from like the model's perspective, but I'm actually having a really great time with it. I was concerned about things like the random encounters, but they've been very well balanced, that they've never been a problem. Even though of course the models don't look amazing now in the field, even like I can't remember what it's called, but the background style where it's like pre-made images they're walking around. I've been surprised by sometimes it does make it awkward to navigate, but I've been surprised by how well they held up. They really do a good job of painting the world of Midgar in a way that would not be possible with polygons back then. So it really creates a vivid picture and atmosphere to the world. The story is really interesting. I do like the characters and the whole setting of the game. The music, so damn good. I mean, we talked about it earlier in regards to Smash, but there's some great tracks. I'm always bopping my head along to the battle theme, like the little cat jam meme. That's that's me playing any battle in this game. And in general, the battle system, it's my first time trying out the ATB system, but I found it really solid. It's kind of got that balance between turn-based, but the way things are constantly moving, it feels more action-based, even though it's not an action JRPG. Right. And it's always really satisfying to get your limit break at just the right time, or use your magic and how you... I've been spamming lightning a lot, to be honest, but no regrets. It's awesome, and it feels really good. So if you've ever been on the fence about this, it's like I said, you can get it pretty cheap now on the Switch. It's everywhere, and it holds up remarkably better than I expected. That could change. I've only just left Midgar, And some classic games, it's only when they start to get difficult that you start to question your life and your sanity. But thus far, I've been very surprised. So, Final Fantasy VII, solid game.
Remake Part 2, come on, let's go.
It's making its way there. You know, they got to be working on it. And maybe I'll have a PS5 in time. I mean, I'm not sure what will come first. Final Fantasy Remake Part 2 finally coming out, or PS5's coming into stock. It could be either one, to be honest. So.
Oh man, yeah, that's a good point.
Could go either way. But have you got anything else you want to talk about, Kai, before I end things off?
No, I believe that's about it.
Excellent. Well, that brings us to the end of the podcast then. Good time, right, Kai? 35 minutes. Haven't seen that time in a while.
Yeah, we haven't gone over 2 hours.
And we're talking about the past 2 months. I guess that just goes to show how quiet January and December time are, really. But you know, that is the end for the podcast. So, first of all, big thanks to you, Kai, for joining me for this. It's been good fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been good.
It has indeed. And of course, a massive shout out to our graphic designer Sam for putting all the hard work into our logo and the thumbnails and all of the graphics that you see here.
Can we give him like a small shout out this time because of the whole Katy Perry thing?
Okay, a mild shout out for Sam for being an okay person who does good graphic design work but has poor taste in music. Is that good? Yeah, we go. Saw it. Oh, he's gonna regret. I should actually be careful what I say here because he's making the thumbnail and he could put Katy Perry in there. So we gotta tread carefully still. But yeah, big thanks, Sam, and thank you all for watching this. It's been good fun, and do stay tuned to the channel for what's coming next. Of course, we will have our regularly scheduled podcast the first Sunday of each month. But we've also got various other things going on, be it reactions to new announcements. We've started our first gameplay series of Trine on the channel, which has been really fun to play, so do check that out if you haven't. And who knows what else could be in the future. I should probably plan things out, shouldn't we, Kai? We should get a move on there.
Planning? Nah,
that's not us. Well, that brings us to the end. So thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.